Mediocre Rumble Brothers.
All right, welcome to Mediocre Rumble Brothers. Today we're going to have ourselves a little hot take on some portable gaming, going out with the MSI Cloud 8 Plus, ROG Ally Xbox X, Legion Go 2, Nintendo Switch 2, Steam Deck OLED. Just having some fun conversation. But before we start, just make sure you subscribe on our Spotify, Twitter, YouTube, and our Rumble channel. It always helps. So let's go ahead and just jump into it. These new handhelds that just came out. I mean, what do you guys start thinking of those compared to the Switch 2?
I guess context of Jesus, I got all this shit pulled up in front of me on my monitor. Handheld PCs are interesting. I kind of am happy to see them showing up. It's a weird way to approach gaming, but it is for a niche audience, I think. Just because it's all PC related for portable like gaming on your Steam libraries that people kind of already have. But
Yeah.
PC gaming in general is kind of a weird beast now because I look at PCs as that's where you play MMOs and RTS games for the most part. I know there's people that use it as their main source of gaming, and you could play a lot of indie games or AAA games that are ported over to like Steam or whatever launcher you use. But
Mm-hmm.
I've never really kind of had a PC that was for gaming in a sense. So it's like an outside looking in type of thing. Even though I do have games on PC, but
How about
I mean,
you?
it's no, I read your mind.
Laura?
It's a weird thing for me too, because PC. I mean, I have my PC is primarily made for gaming, but I did at a point in time in my life where it was like I was an Overwatch nerd and I wanted to play like Overwatch on the optimal experience. And as I stated many times before, I don't fucking like Overwatch anymore. So now I just kind of have a PC made for gaming. I don't like sitting down at my computer to game. I like being in my on my couch in my man cave. As far as like the portable stuff goes, the thing that I'm not necessarily worried about, I just keep thinking about is like Nintendo's already done stuff with the Switch. We're gonna have the Switch for a while, whether we're gonna see a Switch 3 or not, who fucking knows. But I like the Switch in quotation marks. The portability is nice, I'm not gonna lie.
Mhm.
Especially with the Switch 2. The Switch 1 was all right, but the Switch 2 definitely has much better portability. I mean, I'm playing it again. I'm playing it right in front of me right now in front of my computer in tablet mode, and it's running Scarlet and Violet just fine as it would on docked. And I even brought it with me to work today when I was waiting on something at work, and I was playing just fine there too. But the thing is, it's like we talked about several times that what's Xbox going to do, because Xbox as like a brand has kind of like severely weakened, especially since it's recently just been spreading its once exclusive IPs all over the place. And I think we've said several times on this channel, we think the Xbox is just going to move to publishing stuff. Like they're going to be
Mhm.
Game Pass, and that's about it. Like they'll probably still make games, but like other publishers, they're just going to spread them out everywhere as much as they can,
yeah,
and throw it on Game Pass. Day one, you don't have to pay for it, yada yada. So it's like now this is under the assumption that there is not going to be a new Xbox. This is under the assumption that this ROG, the Xbox ROG Ally, whatever, the ROG Ally with an Xbox sticker slapped onto it, is going to be like the quote unquote new Xbox. So, I mean, it could all be proven wrong. They could come out in a year and be like, hey, this is the next Xbox home console. The ROG thing was just a little side project we were doing. But I really don't think so. And if they do, why would they have both at the same time? It doesn't make any
yeah.
sense, really, especially the price point. So it's like we're gonna have two. We have the Switch 2. We're gonna have the ROG Ally X Xbox by the end of the year. So what's is the next PlayStation also going to be portable? Is this just the future of quote unquote console gaming? Is portable PCs essentially? Like that's what I'm thinking about. It's like can a home console compete with the portability, and does the average Joe, the normies, value that kind of like gimmick portability over like power? Because I don't think a lot of them do. I think they'd rather have it be portable, because not a lot of normal people are scrutinizing these things in terms of power, like ever. Like
Mhm.
they're just like, oh yeah, it runs a game good. That's it. That's all they ask for. So I just feel weird about it, because I was already considering not buying an Xbox again. Primarily because all their exclusives are being spread all over the place. So why would I?
Yeah.
Uh, I don't know. I don't think I'd buy one. Maybe, I don't know. I don't know. Me personally, I don't have any reason to get a portable PC. I have flirted with the idea of getting like a Steam Deck before, but a Steam Deck is half the price of what they're going to be asking for that ROG Ally. And all I would want it to use it for is to play like the two games I play on my PC, which is Hollow Cure and Civilization is the only two things I play on my PC, and maybe Pal World once in a blue moon.
And
But
Civilization is probably the game that you would need the power for anyways, because Hollow Cure isn't going to be that demanding.
oh no, not at all. But even then, it's like Civilization. I mean, I haven't seen it, but I mean, I would assume it runs at least okay on a Switch 2. I haven't seen it
Mhm.
run on a Switch 2, but I mean, so it's like I still even have options in that department. So as Corey said, like ultimately, who is this Xbox like this ROG Ally? I'm just gonna call it the ROG Ally X being made for, because it's like if you're not buying it to get Xbox exclusives, I mean, Game Pass still in and of itself has not been implemented on like PlayStation and Switch and stuff like that. But we're already seeing Gears of War and all this other shit coming to PlayStation. So it's like you're not going to buy it for Xbox exclusives. If you're buying it for the Steam compatibility, why wouldn't you just buy a Steam Deck? I mean, it's probably more powerful than a Steam Deck, granted. So maybe that's would push some people over the edge. It just seems like a really strange product to push on people on a market that I don't know. It doesn't. I don't know who their target audience is. Like I understand some people are going to be interested in it, but if you already have it's still more affordable than a gaming. I feel like nowadays to get at least a halfway decent gaming PC, you have to cough up at least $1,000 typically, to get something that's going to work well now and last a little bit into the future at least. So maybe it's a more affordable thing for people like that, possibly, but I don't know. I always felt weird about the Switch portability to begin with. Like it was a nice gimmick. Now it seems weirdly we're going into the whole next generation seems to be pointing towards portable consoles.
It does
But
seem kind of strange with like the portability being like this huge focus now because I'm like, where is everybody going that they need something like this? Like I
right?
think of I
Mars.
understand like in Japan, people travel on train and like having the DS and stuff, like handheld Nintendo devices have always been popular for years. And then now that they have the Switch, they don't need to have other handheld Nintendo devices because it is the handheld Nintendo device that's also docked on your TV. So you could, take it to go and blah blah blah. And I remember, Stadia came out, Steambox was a thing a long time ago. There's always been these weird PC or other types of gaming things trying to break out. But then now that we got the Steam Deck, it's like, okay, but I've never once thought like, man, I wish I could play my Steam library on the go. I'm not even going anywhere. I'm just in my house. And maybe that's just me. I don't know. Is like millions of people traveling constantly going, damn, I wish I had this thing. Cause you're also kind of competing for entertainment attention value with phones, and everybody has one of those already. So yeah,
um
don't you guys got phones? And I don't know, like the Steam Deck is cool, but all the handheld PCs, I think the thing I like about it most, I guess, is that it reminds me of the early 2000s with like electronics being so experimental with like MP3 players and all. Everybody had their own brand, and everybody's MP3 player did something unique, and
Unplugged.
like just having weird technology in general that was specific towards things before they kind of compartmentalized everything into a phone. It's almost like we're getting to see people try stuff again, and I'm kind of here for it. I'm not going to buy all of it, and by any means, especially with how expensive they are, but I do like seeing them happen, and then maybe we'll get a nice middle ground here shortly when they kind of settle in on what they're doing.
But
I
like the one thing, sorry, just before this thought escapes me. I mean, you say that people take it on the like let's just say based it on Japan, right? People use public transport there way way more often than they do in the states or elsewhere. The thing that sold the portability of the Game Boy, even the DS, is the fact that you could slip it into your pocket. You can't do that with a Switch. A Switch
Yeah.
needs a carrying case, and you need to. It's like made for people who are bringing their backpack with them. It's like I'm not going to be carrying that with me because I'm either having to hold it in my hands or I have to have a backpack. So it's like the portability is there, but it's like it's a weird kind of portability that's for like really specific people.
We'll
And
bring back fanny packs. The thing that's kind of interesting, though, even and I'll preface this before we start getting into price point stuff and everything else, as will probably naturally evolve into that. Is we do have phones in our pockets, and those phones are also, if not more expensive than these devices. So that's another thing to keep in mind. You think you get them for free because of phone contracts, but like if you bought a phone outright, they're usually pretty fucking expensive, especially if it's the latest phone.
correct. And
I
they're
mean
basically very
that's
simplified computers, is basically what they are.
Yeah, you get a new iPhone. I mean, I think you're running about 1,000 at least.
It's
I mean
usually
that
over a
that's
thousand nowadays. It's like
Yeah.
1,200 to 1,500.
Same thing with the Samsung device or whatever. I mean, if you're getting any other brand, that's fine, but you're going to be hard pressed to find a state of the art smartphone for, about 500.
I mean that was Xbox's problem, which is this is I have my own speculations on some bad features on it, but I still feel like this actually does look like a good direction for Xbox because they have been prioritizing their market on PC and mobile, but it's very obvious, and even I even tried it out once, is that phones are not fully capable of running the types of games that they have, like the AAA games that they have on Steam and on Xbox. So this is their substitute for that underpowered, then as you said, more expensive type of thing to play mobilely is like $1,000 phone or $1,500 phone. My problem with it is that obviously just the internet connection is something hard to ask for, especially on the go, unless you're staying at like the airport for a long while.
I just
Um,
don't think that it's going to require internet connection. I can't imagine it would.
Well, I mean mostly for like Steam for like multiplayer games. I'm not exactly
Yeah.
sure if it's like the same that the way Nintendo does it, where you have to log into the internet so they can verify your account that you're
The
still
At least once
eligible
a
to
week.
use the retro gallery for it. So I
yeah,
don't know if it's like the same thing for Steam and Xbox.
the Steam side of that is, yeah, it like what Corey just was saying is that, yeah, if you go in once a week and just be able to sign yourself in automatically through the system, it doesn't require you to do it. I have actually tempted that many times with my specific job itself does require me to travel, and when I would bring my ROG Ally, the original, with me, I could go on to Steam and it would not require me to be online in order to play any of my games. So I was still able to play the Master Chief Collection or whatever through the Steam library. And I can only assume that them going with these higher specs and the newer graded technology, they're probably going to still keep the features the same with not having to worry so much about being online in order to play games on Steam.
Okay,
Um,
that
I
was
also would
one of
say real quick that it is a yet statement for phones can't play those games.
Correct.
yeah,
They
but
all of
yeah,
this stuff, I'm assuming, is just a large beta test to figure out how to get proper heat sinks on this small ass device in my pocket. Because there's phones with 16 gigs of RAM, and that's a lot for a phone. And there's only a little bit more in these handheld devices, but screen size and graphical capabilities with battery life, like they'll figure it out. It's just not today.
their product, the ROG Ally X, does seem like a better product, as basically just like the more universal version of a Switch. Considering the Switch only plays Nintendo brand games and some indie games, it has a much smaller library than both Steam and Xbox. The fact that you can bring that as opposed to what I usually do to bring games to your house, Corey, when we need to play a multiplayer game or something. I don't have to bring a whole suitcase to bring the Xbox, and God forbid I ever need to bring my computer over there as well to do something. But so I was like, the only thing I would ever need is just to bring that little device, which is much easier to bring around with me and wherever it is that I need to go.
Oh
So
yeah.
Xbox is like trying to capture the market on the mobile side from away from PlayStation while working hand in hand with Steam on the mobile on both mobile, portable, and PC market. So
Well, that was the other
they're
thing too. It's like it's working hand in hand in Steam. So is that the end of Steam Deck? Is this going to be the new Steam Deck? Like,
Well,
I mean, it was like they're probably working hand in hand with Steam because, like, well, you're not just gonna say no to all the people that have already bought their games on Steam. It was like, well, you like Steam games, but not everything is gonna be on there. So why not make a purchase a little bit on the Xbox side? Like, you have Game Pass; it works both on Xbox and PC, so you can also just get that as well. You might not
well,
make as much money buying games individually, but at least you'll have a constant flow of subscriptions every month.
The Ally X is, and first I will say the portability thing that I do appreciate, even though you have to bring a little case with the Switches. I've been there of riding my bike to my friend's house with a backpack full of my PlayStation 2 and a bunch of shit. And it's a lot easier to just carry it in your hand now, so that's cool. But these are just Windows devices that are handheld. Like what Udon said earlier, when they slapped the Xbox sticker on it, it's just because they're utilizing an Xbox launcher to kind of organize your games library, right? But like looking through it can play Epic Store launcher, Steam Store launcher. It's just a PC, so naturally, like Steam runs on PC. They're not going to block you being able to play it because they're going to allow you to spend your money from any of these devices. The only way that they would probably remove Steam from something is if, well, honestly, I don't know. I don't know if Steam has ever blocked itself from anything, unless Epic made their own device and they were like, well, Steam can't run on that. I could see them because it's a competition thing, but you could do Epic, Steam, any launcher you want from the Ally just because it's a PC, but you can do that from the others too. That as long as a Windows device can run the Xbox Game Pass stuff, and so you can the original Ally, the one that I bought when it came out like a while ago, that came with a Game Pass like 3 months free thing to try out. So it just has its own. I think it's called like Forge or something, whatever the Ally's launcher is, but
Armory
you can
Crate.
open up yeah, it's such a weird, it was so like kind of bulky, and you got to go through all these settings to like make sure that it performs properly. But you'd hope that would be out the box, but that necessarily wasn't the case. But you can open up the Xbox stuff and play Xbox games on it just fine. I can go to my Steam library and play Steam games just fine. It's just a little PC, so it is what it is. They're just getting more expensive because of the pieces that are putting in it. That'll be kind of interesting. Granted, you can't put anything like a disc or anything in it. Granted, PCs don't do that anymore, anyways. I don't think I own a PC in my house right now that has a disk drive.
Um,
I don't think PCs have been made with disk drives for like 10 years now.
Yeah, I had to get external just to like install some old software before. Just it's like, damn, because
oh,
everything's subscription based too, so that sucks.
I just wanted to see, like, because I'm really itching to want to go forward on this more, but I want to just see with everybody's double checking with everybody, with all of that toxic environment out there on the YouTube and all that, with haters in regarding to Switch 2, basically, if I don't have one, I'm upset about it. If I do have one, I'm still upset about it. What do you guys think with the week that you guys had it? Has there been any kinds of change of hearts ever so slightly with the system? Is there any like things that you think that there's more improvement that needs to be done? Or are you guys actually quite satisfied with the product because, everybody's been waiting for so long and you finally got it, and there's actually quite a bit of things that you either did not think was possible and now it is? What do you guys think on the Switch 2 so far with the week that you guys had it?
I mean, some hatred towards it is like somewhat sensible, but I feel like the only issue that I feel like arose from it that is legitimate is the fact that it's a brand new console, but almost immediately it has the I can't read correct battery charge levels and the sophisticated and stupid way you're supposed to fix it. It just seems kind of silly.
It
Like,
is.
I haven't even bothered to fix it, but it's like I don't really have that much of a problem with it, but
It's,
that to like have to fix it, but
well,
it's just a weird thing to have.
well, I actually saw like the video on it. It's actually a quite simple fix, just requiring you to basically
The
just
safe mode
just
launch.
yeah, safe mode, reboot it back up. It's not erasing anything. It's just restarting the thing back up to where when it first started, and this time it will actually connect to the battery, and therefore you're because people were complaining that that the battery itself would still have like another hour left in it, but it would tell your computer, hey, this thing's about to die. You're at 10%. You need to charge it. It's about to die, but you actually literally had like an entire hour still left on the battery. So doing that quick fix would give you that additional hour that you were thinking was taken away from you, which is quite nice because I only assume that if you're thinking that you only had an hour and a half, technically now you have 2.5 hours, which makes most portability consoles not even able to do that, which I'm quite impressed with the Switch 2 myself. Just, throwing it out there. I don't have one, but when I've been diving in more on the specs of the whole thing, being able to provide that kind of experience in that thin of a frame, it's pretty impressive.
Maybe
No,
it's
'cause
the first time Nintendo copied PlayStation with their PlayStation batteries and their damn controllers. They're like, your battery's getting low, and then it lasts for like 3 more days.
Yeah, this is weird. But it's like the only solution that I did see was like you had to like deplete the battery from like zero from 15 to zero like 5 times or something like that, and then fully charge it and then just let it go. It's like that's such a weird thing to have to do.
The weird esoteric like witch ritual to get your fucking.
Yeah,
Hmm.
It's
you
like a
gotta
cheat
draw a
code.
circle on the ground, light some candles.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, for my end, it's like I don't look at the specs a whole lot of things. I'm not a computer guy. All those fucking acronyms and numbers and stuff mean nothing to me. All I looked for was it's the same thing I look for basically every time I get like the next iteration of a console. I just want the thing that happened before but better. Um, with Switch, I it's literally that. It made Scarlet and Violet playable for me. Fucking even it was funny too. I was testing out a few other games. I didn't want to play Fairy Tale because I bought it on the Switch because it ran like ass, but now it runs great. So I'm probably gonna go back and finish that game, despite combat system being a bit boring. But I'm like I bought it and I barely touched it. But I'm like, oh no, I can play it because it's actually playable now. I can't. The only like honestly, I think I'll say it again. Is like my issue isn't with the console because after playing basically 90% of Mario Kart World, I still need to unlock mirror mode. The whole game pricing thing, which I'm not going to harp on because we're talking about the console itself, is that's my issue. Is the 80? I don't think that game was worth $80. There's no fucking way. I'd pay like 60 or 70 for that, but not 80. As far as the console goes, $450, like I think that was fine because if I remember correctly, the Switch One was $400, right? Or three? Was it three or 400?
I think it was $399.
390. Okay, so if it's $400, like 50 extra bucks for this in like this vast increase in performance is like way more than worth it in my opinion. And I really like it. I still haven't done the battery fix myself, which I should probably do since I want to use
Oh,
it a bit more portably.
the Switch
Um,
launched at $299.
290. Okay, well, even then, I would still. I mean, point still being, I would still pay $150 for this kind of improvement. And maybe I'm the weird one, but like, I felt the same way when I got the Xbox Series X. I'm like, this is a really good upgrade because Arc doesn't run like shit anymore. Um, in like maybe PS5 was a bit different because I was out of the loop with PS3. PS4 was all right. But I mean, I wasn't looking for anything more, and the colors are great. I mean, when I was playing it portably, like holding the thing in my hands, I think the screen is really good. I mean, I'm not a stick. I mean, I'm not. Again, I don't care for specs. So this whole like LCD versus OLED thing literally means nothing to me, and that's not a defense for the console. I mean, if one's better than the other, so be it. I don't know the difference, but I'm just answering for my personal thoughts on the thing. I couldn't put it down. I had to force myself to stop playing my Switch 2 because I wanted to go back and try and finish fucking Baldur's Gate because I was in the middle of doing that before this thing came out. So I really like it. I feel like my money was my shtick is still with the game pricing, but we'll see how bad that gets in the future. But I'm
Um,
satisfied.
yeah. For me, I I have a hard time judging the Switch 2 as a console because they only have basically Mario Kart out to play. And though I do enjoy playing Mario Kart and I am playing Unicorn Overlord, but that ran fine on Switch 1, so I don't notice any sort of like performance enhancement from playing it on the Switch 2. There really isn't any other like once Donkey Kong comes out next month, I can kind of go, "Oh, okay, this is a new 3D platformer on a new console." I might have a better, you know, weight to my opinion on the how it handles and everything else. But and the thing that you'll have to keep in mind is like what kind of features does Donkey Kong have that like Mario Odyssey did not have? From what I see in the trailers, there's destructible environments, so there's probably going to be a lot of processing power that needs to handle what you can do in Donkey Kong outside of just jumping on enemies and collecting coins. I'm not saying that Mario Odyssey is you know simple, but there is a lot to it, and it is a pretty big game. I don't think the price point is that bad, honestly. I bought a PS3 alongside Jordan when they launched, and we both of us paid $600 for it. And that was a interesting time. And they launched with Layer, and we didn't even buy that game because that was the stupid motion control dragon game. It's like I
God.
don't want motion controls. And that's my fear with PlayStation because they're always chasing trends after everybody else. I'm like, look, everyone likes this shit, and they're like, well, we got one, and it's just fun. It's never as good. Even though I think Eye of Judgment is an interesting concept, and I would love to see somebody bring that back in a better way. There probably is one somewhere, but anyways, I have played the Switch 2 probably every day since I got one. So there's that. I have not played my Switch 1. That started to trail until I bought a Unicorn Overlord because there wasn't really anything else. It was to the point where if there was a game coming out on all platforms, I would purposely buy the PS5 one because I was worried about the Switch's performance on stuff.
Yes.
I would get Nintendo first party things, obviously, because you can only play them on the Nintendo device, and they'd be like, "Oh, Zelda's coming out by Zelda, or Metroid, it's a Metroid, Dread or whatever." But if it was a multi-release, I would never buy it on the Switch just
Exactly.
because I want the best version of it,
hmm
and I think Trials of Mana was one of those games that came out on everything, but it's like I'm going to get the PS4 version because the Switch one is kind of iffy. So now that I have the Switch 2, granted I don't really have anything, but I'm playing Unicorn Overlord like every day, put like a couple hours in, and I love that game, and it's everything. I haven't seen any hiccups. One thing I will notice is that it loads the storefront so much faster. Like
Yeah.
utilizing any of the what is it, widgets that the Switch had and that they carried over into Switch 2, where you want to check like the Nintendo news or your friends list or whatever. All of that stuff loads so much faster and is handled better because when you tried to navigate the Switch 1 store, it would take so damn long to load anything. Watching a video or trying to find like the next set of games after you scroll down to the next like grouping, it was just stupid. But yeah, I guess pricing is the thing that everybody's talking about. But Donkey Kong's going to be $70. It's no different than a PS5 game right now. So I haven't been able to gripe at an $80 game yet because, well, Mario Kart was $50 technically. Yeah, I probably wouldn't have been happy paying 80 for it, but it was included in my $500 bundle, so I'll just take that where it's at. Yeah,
To put
I mean,
more in perspective, my idea of price, even lagging Switch, I paid like the PS5 was $500 when it came out on launch.
mhm.
Um, I feel like I've already gotten more mileage out of my Switch in this week of using it than I have like my entirety of owning my PS5. I again, but the thing is, I think we touched on this in the last episode, but it's like if you're buying a Switch because you want to play the Nintendo products on it. If you don't want to play Nintendo games, why are you buying a Switch?
Yeah,
Like quite like truly, honestly, like why are you buying a Switch if you don't want to play the exclusive games on it? Because that's like their entire business model is predicated on the exclusives that they have and
yeah.
their perceived value and like their quality.
If you're
So
looking to play multi-platform products from like Ubisoft, EA, or anybody else, then get a Steam Deck.
like I don't understand all these people who went out and bought a Switch 2 and I see all these screenshots of them buying all these games. Like Street Fighter, I can understand that probably runs fine on Switch 2, but it's like they're buying the Red Dead, the Cyberpunk, and I'm just like, why? Like why did you buy Cyberpunk on the Switch? Like again, I get it, portability, but like who cares? Like get it on a console. I would never, even on the Switch 2, I wouldn't trust that shit to run well. And it's just like, so when people are bitching and moaning about like, oh, it's not so powerful, Steam Deck's better, yada yada, it's like I don't care. I'm playing this because I like Nintendo products. That's it. Again, I'm not saying they're perfect. I hate fucking Scarlet and Violet. It still has plenty of problems. It runs better now, and I don't like a couple other games, but it's just like I still like them more than often than not. So it's like I still feel like the price was worth it over my PS5. That I feel like again, PS5 not a horrible console. I haven't gotten nearly as much use out of it as my Switch, even my Switch One.
I just want to play Zelda. That's
Yeah,
pretty much it.
exactly. It's like I want to play Pokemon. That's what I want to do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like the Switch 2 feels like like basically the final form of the Switch because people joke that the Wii U walks so the Switch could run, but
Oh
now
yeah.
if not, but the Switch was so heavily underpowered that it still had so many problems despite how useful it looked on the surface. But like the Switch 2 is like everything the Switch was plus more. I feel like the difference between a Switch 1 and a Switch 2 is much more significant than and the Xbox One X to a Series X and a PlayStation to a Pro.
I can agree to the PlayStation to a Pro, but when you're talking about the Xbox One X to an Xbox Series X, the difference is absolutely fucking insane. It's almost I would say it's almost the same from a Switch 1 to a Switch 2. But that's coming from a person at that time I was playing nothing but my Xbox. And again, Corey says he doesn't see the difference, but well, not that you don't see a difference, but you're not seeing as heavily as I am because Mike, people also say like there's no games for it. It's like that has never been an issue for me whenever there's a new console out, because to me it's like, well, yeah, there's might not be a whole lot of new games, but I can play all my old games now and they probably run even better. So I want to go back and play all my stuff now that now it's shiny new coat of paint on half of them, So
Yeah.
to me, that's what that means to me, and that's how I felt playing the Xbox when that happened. Because like I said when I was explaining, like Xbox or Arc Survival Evolved on Xbox One, kind of jank. Xbox Series X runs perfect, love it.
The experience that you're having is like playing a remaster of your favorite game without having to pay for the same game again. So it feels
Kinda,
like
yeah.
it feels like a different game. It was like you never paid for anything. It's the same game, but it runs like it was new.
All right. Well,
Now, yeah,
yeah.
I was gonna say,
All right.
Jordan. Now that we've harped on the Switch,
Okay, so yeah, so like this is the kind of thing I was talking about. Like I have this itch for. So I've been doing a little bit of backlogging and just going through all these different things to try to find more out. So you got the contenders out there that are really trying to drive the portable market right now and just trying to be the best machine they possibly can. The portable PCs that are out there that would like to say they are contending against Switch 2 in the spot of best portability. We have the MSI Claw AI 8 AI Plus. That is, I don't say it's AI Plus. I only see Plus, but they put that there for some weird reason. It has an Intel Core Ultra 7 with the graphics of Intel Arc, a 32 gig RAM, LDDR5, 1 terabyte on their SSD, and an 8-inch screen on IPS at 120 hertz. The ROG Ally Xbox X has the new upcoming AMD Ryzen Z2 AI Extreme with the RAM of 24 gigs of LDDR5, storage 1 terabyte to 2 terabytes of space, display, a 7-inch IPS screen, the Lenovo Legion Go 2 processor Ryzen Z2 Extreme, no AI, RAM up to 32 gigs, storage up to 2 terabytes. Display is going to be an 8.8-inch screen of OLED, and the Nintendo Switch, again, they were at a custom NVIDIA Ampere GPU with the RAM 12 gigabytes, LDDR5, storage 256 gigabytes internal storage, display 7.9 inch, 120 hertz LCD. So I wanted to just kind of clarify what was going on before. So, Udo was talking about, there all these kind of things that are being said, what they don't, what's the importance of it and such. It can just depend on the person there, that's actually looking at these PCs. Like for me specifically, I'm going after these things because I'm kind of just painting the picture myself. The CPU itself, basically, the central processing unit, is like the brain of the whole function, how everything is going to work. The smarter the CPU, the better it's going to perform. Then you got yourself your graphics, your GPU. That's going to be basically how good the artist can draw. If you have somebody with a very low graphics card, they're going to draw stick figures. You go all the way up to the high performance ones, you're able to draw the most beautiful pictures you could even imagine. Then you got yourself the RAM, the random access memory. This is basically the toolbox, like the amount of gadgets and gadgets your thing can perform to do multiple tasks at one go. And so the more higher that goes, the more impressive it can do multiple things and makes processing that much easier. Then we jump into your display. Okay, what's the whole point of the IPS versus LCD or OLED? So the IPS is your in-place switching, and what that basically is a high form of a bright light shining through a screen. And with that being said, each of those little tiny crystals that are inside there, those little fragments, are all flipping to certain colors at one given go. But the problem with IPS, it is very clear, but at the same time, it's drawing power because it's consistently on. The backlighting has to always be on to show color switching, to be able to show those quick maneuvers. And usually it goes for the best pictures in prettiness because of it's consistently having the lights on those and making a clear picture. Now, the LCD, your liquid crystal display, this is now talking about individual, like they say, crystal-like, that are constantly reflecting individual bright lights at the same kind of deal like an IPS. The only difference is that the LCDs usually reflects quicker, and therefore gives you quicker responses in transmitting images faster. So you would be able to determine a lot more, probably a better showing in comparison of like Devil May Cry. Devil May Cry video games are like those hack and slash where everything's moving really quickly. You can definitely tell a little bit of a difference between the IPS versus LCD. And then you got yourself the OLED, which is your omitted light, or your organic light emitted diodes. And this one specifically is like it was at the time the new future of how things were to process with pixels, and how this was, instead of a bright light hitting everything at one time, the OLED has individual power to grab each individual pixel and turn them on and off. And this is how the IPS and LCD will try to show or replicate a black color by making the color. The OLED shuts it off, and it is a natural black. So it's why colors in OLEDs look so pretty, is because it's basically taking that whole natural effect of turning everything off completely to where you get that actual natural black. You don't get a gray, you don't get any kind of weird hue kind of thing. You're getting a real natural black. And these are the things that really push those to getting that better specific graphic that you're looking for. And at the same time, if you're thinking about it, the pixels are shut off, it's not using power, and therefore you're saving battery. These others that are on the side, they consume more, but at the same time, it's depending upon what you're looking for. The only reason the OLED would be performing better would be that if you're playing a game that's mostly in a dark environment, like Last of Us, if you're like in these dark places, any places that are like kind of gothic or plays at night all the time, that would probably be a better suit for you to be able to see those kind of reflects. I would probably say like Mario Kart 8, when you're on the rainbow road and it's black and you have all those beautiful colors like the rainbow, that's where things pop very easily and it shows well. But when you go outside with an OLED, you get a lot of reflection. It's kind of hard to see. And then there was also the chance of burn-in, but that's something that's kind of going away now. OLEDs were having this huge problem where if you were playing something for a long given time and the screen would never change the picture and it was always staying, like for instance, you were playing a game and it has a health bar and that health bar never moves from the screen, there was usually a chance where that would be burned into the screen. And if you ever tried to switch to something, you would always see that frame of that health bar, whatever you were doing, watching a different movie, it would be burned in there. So that's why they would say like OLEDs would be mostly used for movies, because everything's constantly switching and changing, versus video games, certain things have them stayed. But technology, things are improving, and they're making that whole change to adjust to where people can use them for video games. But again, here comes the pricing issue. If you want to have an OLED, be sure that you're going to pay a pretty penny for this versus an IPS or an LCD, which is why you'd say, oh, wow, I can see that these are actually kind of affordable. Mostly, they will come with the price. If you're wanting to switch to OLED, you will definitely see those numbers jump. And the Steam Deck alone, I believe it was like a couple $100 difference if you had the regular versus the OLED. So there was going to be some kind of changes that you could have occurred, and it would make things better, but again, at a heavier price. And I wanted to state that with the Xbox Ally X and how they're trying to perform things, there was a meeting that they were holding, and they were basically talking about that the video game industry with Xbox, they hinted out the word that they were basically going to have an Xbox-like experience, just like the ROG Ally X. Basically kind of saying it that this was a way to show what they can do to make the format of the Xbox be reliable and be able to be suited for any other console out there if need be, mostly PCs, that they could give you that console-like experience and you would not have to be worried about, I have a PC and therefore I cannot enjoy this simplified version of how the Switch can do it, or the good old-fashioned consoles back in the day and how they were able to handle things. You know, you just jump into a game and you get right to it. You don't have to boot up Windows and go through all this crazy stuff in order to get to where you need to be. The reason why I bring this up is because there is a huge change coming with this huge movement with Xbox. It seemed like there's just a giant X on the PC, and therefore, you know, it's just, that's what it is. there was a reason behind how they were going to do this is that they were going to try to format the PC to be able to have basically a round structure or some kind of enclosement away from Windows. Because if you think about how Windows operates, it runs through gathering data, it's trying to find out firmware, it's doing updates, it's doing all this stuff in the background. So having all this happen at one go, your computer cannot focus directly on the games. So all of these extra supercomputers and everything that comes out, they have to rely on this extra power because of the amount of things that are happening. Now, if you were able to take all of that and hone in on just the video game itself, you could improve processing power, graphics, everything about it, speeding up times, load times, all of that stuff could be greatly performed because now all of the focus is now directed to the game. And this is kind of where Xbox is going. They're trying to shield this whole thing. This is basically going to be the new outcome or a more improved version of Armory Crate, because that's what this was. Armory Crate was I've already know it from experience. It's really bad. The UI on it's shit. It's not fun. A lot of bugs that were happening with it. Now I don't know if it's gotten better, because I know that they were trying to still say that we still got it. We can still use it. But Xbox is trying to make you basically feel like you have an Xbox on the go. And they're already talking about that if we were to use this format, what they have built in for the ROG Ally X, Xbox ROG Ally X, so confusing, that it should improve your CPU by 2 cores of utilization, to where once was being taken away from you because of Windows is now going to be given back to you to help improvement. And it's not only going to just improve that, but again, they have the 80-watt battery that's being placed in there, which is significantly big. It's quite hefty and a little bit heavy too. But now you're talking about that you're not only going to get improvement in the power of these video games to do things that were not really even thought of before, now can be done. And at the same time, with the amount of technology being improved on these chips, because you're looking at PCs have to run graphics cards, they have to run all the things that I've mentioned out before in order for them to properly work. Now with the portability, they basically create hybrids chips that can incorporate a CPU mixed with graphics cards to where they have it all in one go, and it can make more room and space for them to do things that they need to, which is make things smaller, make things more able to take on the go. But again, it becomes more expensive, it becomes harder to come by, and therefore they have to really think about what they're going to do before they just push out a new chip. And that's kind of what the Z1 was to now the Z2. It's going to be basically something that we're not exactly sure of, but based on what I was looking at, this chip specifically is going to be more honed onto battery consumption. It's going to have UI, it's going to have AI involved with this chip, the AI version that is going to be basically looking at a self-diagnosis of your specs, your computer, whenever it's running at, and will try to self-diagnose and find things that are hindering your abilities to get a good performing rate of gameplay. And if it notices something's going wrong, to where something's being hindered by your CPU, your GPU, or something like that, it will try to self-diagnose itself and try to find ways to make improvements like that. It's like things like that sounds really cool. But again, these are all speculations, or these are things that are coming out of the ether, because we don't really know yet until it comes out. So it's kind of been hinted at, but still kept in the dark. And it's crazy. It's incredible. You're going to be seeing chips now with the AI features to where they kind of help improve things, make things better and easier. And now we got the VRR, the very refresh rate. That's also another peak performance thing that they're using to help smooth out. It's kind of like a way to basically clean and fill out those grainy like features that seem almost rigid and hard to look at. It clears and smooths it out and makes it easier. So like those IPS screens, again, where you would have to worry about how much hertz you could push out to be able to get that kind of smoothness experience. Well, if they have this VRR enhanced, it gives you the capability to where you don't have to go so high in the hertz and still be able to kind of have more of a fluid feature. And it helps drain out that possibility that, oh my God, I got to run my Switch or not my Switch, my ROG Ally and everything at 30 watts, which is a lot. That's that kills your battery pretty quickly. And if you can dive it down, now you can play games still at a pretty reasonable rate and still consume a lot of conserve a lot of battery, which we're probably looking at the ROG Xbox Ally X, possibly maybe looking at maybe 3 hours possibly of battery life on a good session, like with actually pretty decent titles rather than indie games and things that don't require a lot of juice. Because again, with the ROG Ally myself having it, the thing would die really quick. You play a AAA game, 45 minutes, that's what you're looking at, and the thing is done, and that's it. So the idea that they finally stepped in, they not only built in a great processor that's looking at it, the contender, the Legion Go 2, this is one of those bulky kind of behemoths that are stepping platform out there that has not changed their features at all, but there is hints that they presumably might be a updated version of the Steam Deck, like how we're talking about that Microsoft presumably might be just creating better UIs for these PCs to be able to make themselves act like a console, and therefore they take themselves out of the hat and they don't have to worry too much about creating Xboxes anymore. Well, the Legion Go 2 that was already pushed out not too long ago was basically a little bit of a preview of what they're trying to do working with the Steam side of things, meaning they were actually having themselves created with a Windows feature or a Steam OS feature, giving you the ability to say, do you want the Steam Deck feel like experience, or would you like the freedom of staying away from Linux and you can just have the whole Windows, just regular do as you will experience? And they were seeing that the ones that had the Steam OS, even though there was a lot of limitations, because again, if it's not compatible with Linux, you're kind of shit out of luck. But if it's Windows, you have all of that freedom. But again, you have all of that things that are taken away from what you could possibly get. And they were seeing a significant improvement when they had the Steam OS feature, because again, how simple it was. And it was taken away from all that extra crap that you would have to deal with in the background. So they pushed that out. And now with the Steam Go 2, they didn't really talk much about how they were going to handle things specifically. They themselves have another kind of ordeal thing, like how we had in the ROG Ally with the Armory crate. They have one of their own as well with Legion, but they're going to have more RAM. They don't have the AI version of the Z2 chip, but it is exactly kind of like the same. It's just not going to have a little bit more of those features that the AI will be able to push out that will make things a little more easier for you. But the ROG Ally X had 24. This one's going to have 32, so it's going to be a little bit more of a pusher on it. But at the same time, it's more bulkier. It has a huge screen. Don't get me wrong; it's beautiful. It's OLED, but the ratio of it is very abnormal. It's not one that you can basically get out of most video games at all. Basically, you're going to be basically having this huge open space of screen not being used because of the ratio that it has. So it's kind of like you paid extra for a screen that you're really not going to use the full potential of it. It just seems kind of like a waste. And they had some features on it to where they were trying to kind of like copy the Switch and being able to detach the two hands on both sides and use them kind of like a mouse. But it's not what you would like to see, at least for me personally. It almost feels like you have a removable controller to where you could do like a flight simulator, where you got that joy stick that you can just go up and down, left and right with, but it's the same way, but it's staying stationary up, and you move it around like that in order to move the mouse around, which is just confusing and does not seem to make much sense. I thought it was for the ability to do multiple side, co-op gaming, or, you're playing with the same person right next to you. That's cool, but that's not happening. And then you have, I believe it's a 60-watt battery. So it is trying to keep up with, 74-watt battery. So it's trying to keep up with it. But again, it doesn't have exactly the same amount of the features that the ROG Ally Xbox X has. And so therefore it's going to have more juice. But for me personally, as we keep going into how it's not particularly looking at how much power you have on the computer unit for portability, it's about how sleek and simple the UI is to allow your computer to consistently stay above water when it comes to battery consumption. This is kind of where I myself was always looking for the bigger, badder product, and now seeing battery consumption was a huge factor. A lot of people complaining. I mean, I was in and out with it, to now it's consistently now getting better. And now I can see that the UI is making that habit to try to improve that. And therefore, with the less amount of power being drawn, the better performance, everything can go. And MSI Claw, this was the next one. This is probably actually the most powerful of the units, but at the same time, it is drawing a lot more juice because they're trying to state that, of course, they can go to higher fresh rate. They can they have more bigger, I believe it's an Intel instead of an AMD. So these different chips that you have, basically, if they are not compatible with the other kinds of games that are out there, AMD is a pretty wide known product. You know, your PS5 that you have, those are actually using the AMD chips, and those all there can be basically an easier way to find that you're going to be able to play any game that comes out, really. The MSI chip, the Intel Core, is a 32 gig LDDR5, and again, it's got an 8-inch screen, bigger screen display. It is IPS, which is the brighter versions, but not that well kept. And it does, in fact, probably going to come at a higher price. We got to also look at that when you're talking about these consoles in general, is what is the rate that they have of breaking, or how good is their customer service, right? Because if you end up having yourself a brand new console and it goes to shit and you have no one to reach out to, it kind of doesn't seem like a good idea to purchase something like that. You know, you got the Switch 2, you have Nintendo. Everybody knows where Nintendo is. Everybody can reach out to Nintendo. MSI and all that, these are kind of the far out companies that do push out very good product, but don't seem to have much of a customer service side of things to where it's easy to get a hold of somebody and make things move. The ROG Ally is partnered with Best Buy. Actually, Legion is the same kind of deal too. They're actually partnered with Best Buy, so you can actually buy those both at the Best Buy store. And it does make things a lot more smoother and easier to make movement. And, you know, at least be sure that when you buy something happens, there's a good chance that you're going to get it at least looked at, or somebody will be able to, you'll be able to reach out to. And I myself is going to be kind of hesitant because, Corey, if you remembered the ROG Ally, when that first came out, there was that huge issue with the SDs being melted if they were to, you know, plug them in, those little micro SDs, because of where the heat was displacing, it would melt them, right? They made that change finally. Unfortunately, it was already after the fact that where people had that problem, and they were coming up with updates. ROG Ally was actually looking at ways to try to improve with these updates to change the direction of how the fans were pulling in air and pushing it out, to where it was not exactly going to stop that issue, but it was reducing it. So meaning that they would make it a way to where if you were playing low end games that didn't require a lot of processing power, you could still probably get away with your SDs not being damaged. But as long as you went above that and you started going into higher performance, there's still a chance that was going to happen. So for me, when we're looking at these games that are these PCs that are coming out, there's a huge mix of things that are coming. I don't want to start looking at these as PCs anymore, especially if they start having these features to where, again, that they're trying to make them more simple. It's kind of nice because, again, I was just hesitant of being able to look at this and be like, well, you know, it's just another PC in the palm of your hands. It's great, but it's not something that you could just hand over to someone and say, okay, you go ahead and you take your turn at it, turn it on, tell me what you think. And they're still in the home screen because they don't know where the hell to go. You know, that's not what you want. You want things simple. And the fact that they're making this drive, this leap to make it that way is pretty impressive. And another thing I wanted to throw out, I know I'm holding the floor, sorry. But the PlayStation Portal, that was another thing I wanted to bring up. This one was the whole Wi-Fi gaming thing that you would have to have attached to a PS5. there has been said out online about a new update that they had pushed to take yourself away from being basically tethered to a console and now being to be wireless with the cloud option. Now,
ridiculous that they needed an update to do that. I was like, you didn't think about this before?
Well, this is kind of where I was at. This is kind of what took me away from being a Sony boy now after hearing this. Like, this is very upsetting. You just showed your cards basically and told everybody out there that went through their, I don't know how it was pretty damn expensive, wasn't it, for this thing? It was like $400 or some shit.
The Portal wasn't expensive. It was just getting all the accessories started to rack up a price. If you wanted headphones and other stuff, then it starts to pile on. But I think initially out of the box it was like $250 or something like that.
Okay, so again, it was that you got this product and you were like, okay, sweet, I got it, I should be able to do whatever I want with it. No, you need to stay in your home and the PS5 has got to be on. It's not going to be able to do that without it. So now that Xbox made their step, Legion is making their step, MSI is making their step, everybody is making their step, Sony feels left out. So what happens? They now announce this update to saying, hey guys, just to let you know, we're thinking about you and we're going to turn on that good old cloud data for you. So now you can go anywhere with it. The only problem is you still need to pay for a premium service. So you can't activate it unless you pay for premium. And we have an open source about 100 games right now, and we're looking to maybe increase it. And then possibly in the future come out with another actual portable device that is going to be a PlayStation product. But
wait, you need the premium version of
Correct.
PlayStation Plus, or
Correct.
you just need
you need the premium plus subscription so that you have access to about 120 games that you can stream play to the device. It wasn't like that initially out the box. It was $200 too at launch price just for this device. But again, you're talking $200 for something that required the PlayStation 5 at the time to just basically remote play, which is what PSPs could do to PS3s.
And there's
Do you not want to sit at your couch? Do you want to sit somewhere else in your house and play video games? But we have the product for 200 smackaroos. You too can play from the love seat in the room next door, or sitting on your bed. You know, when you're supposed to be trying to sleep.
I thought that you needed to pay for the premium subscription to play it from the console, but no, it's just to play it anywhere because you need the cloud service for it. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay, no, that makes more sense. So like, I thought you just needed it straight up to use the portal. Like, that's fucking stupid.
It didn't have Bluetooth either when it. I don't know if it still does, but they had proprietary headphones and stuff to connect to it, so you couldn't really pair anything. And then I believe you couldn't use it for YouTube or like Netflix or anything. So it was specifically just to play your PlayStation 5 games.
Well, so when I'm looking at this right there is that the PlayStation Portal was you just had to have a Wi-Fi connection. You sign in your PlayStation network, and boom, you're now connected, and you're able to do it. But since you're wanting to utilize the wireless compatibility of it to be able to go where you want to, then yes, you need the premium service subscription in order for it to operate and work. So it's stupid because again, it's something that people were excited about. They got it and found out that they needed a PlayStation 5. They thought it was actually something that was just on its own.
That was another big deal. Is it was more than just $200. You couldn't use it unless you had a PS5. So now it's $700, and then you need to buy headphones. So now it's $900, and it's like, oh shit! It starts to stack up pretty quick.
So that only the that's Xbox only like real competitor that they need to step up against alongside like the other portable handheld PCs. But I feel like it'll have a much better start than PlayStation's stupid Portal thing. Yeah, they have to wait for like a few years to develop a new one.
I mean, honestly, I think that Microsoft partnering with Asus to kind of slap their name on this device and allow people to have a better Game Pass experience is interesting. Almost like changing teams in a sense, but It's like, well, I'm losing on the red team, so I'm going to jump over to the blue team real quick.
Yep.
I
I
think
mean,
that
technically, you are right that they became a publishing company because if they're slapping their names on things, they're still really only making just the games, and since they're not going to be making more consoles,
I mean, they're
they're just
going to
their
make.
name on
Well,
things.
again, and just disclaimer: this is under the assumption that they will not
Correct.
be making another
Right.
Xbox. Which
Yeah,
the only reason we thinking this is because spreading the IPs, and if you're gonna a portable Xbox, what need do you have for a home console? So this
Right.
could all
Yeah.
be thrown out the window as soon as they decide to announce the next Xbox Series Z or whatever the fuck they want to do.
Correct.
But
Yeah.
Because again, that was only hinted at because when they had that show when they were
It was
introducing
at
the
the
Xbox,
end.
yeah, at the very end it said like the Xbox ROG Ally X. So it sounded like it was not just going to be just for ROG Ally, but for other systems out there that would love to use their UI. That would be up for debate on whatever it is that they're going to do in the future. But yeah,
Probably PCs in general, because you
yeah,
can boot up Game Pass on PC. So they're probably just overhauling their Game Pass experience that loads up on other devices. I know Microsoft was talking with Nintendo, so it could possibly be Game Pass appearing as an app on the Switch.
hmm
And the only thing is Xbox would have to negotiate pricing, similar to where if you sell a game on a storefront, they take 30%. Um, that number is not necessarily across the board. It's just kind of one that I've heard of before is 30%. I think maybe Steam or something, but or PlayStation if you sell a game there. So if you have an app and they're making purchases, if they're subscribing to Game Pass on PlayStation, for example, they might have to increase the Game Pass price so that PlayStation gets their $5 for every $25 spent, and then both of them make money, and you have a library of games to play. And then PlayStation technically just is making $5 for you know all the subscribers that are purchasing Game Pass. I don't know if they get a cut of Netflix or something. They must. I feel like it would be impossible for you to run an app on a device and not pay your share. Could we see Game Pass on other consoles? Probably. Their probably main focus right
I
now is going to be on PC.
here's something that I just thought of. What if theoretically if they brought Game Pass to other consoles, I wonder if it would be a nerfed Game Pass in the sense that Game Pass on Xbox right now has all of Xbox's first party games on it, plus a pretty good amount of, actually it's probably about half or more than half of them are all just random indie titles or just other games that have agreed to be put on Game Pass for
Mhm.
a limited amount of time or indefinitely, because sometimes it seems like none of them actually leave. I'm not talking about EA Play either, which you get a free subscription to if you do the ultimate, but that's a separate thing. I wonder if they brought it to other consoles, if it would only be Xbox first party games, since that's what they
Probably.
own directly. And so it's like, this is how you play these games on this console. Like they would even still let people buy them individually if they wanted
Yeah.
to, but instead of, like, I guess, quote unquote, stealing the money you could make from, I'm just going to pull something out of my ass here. Let's just say Deep Rock Galactic. I know that's on Game Pass. Let's just say they brought it to PlayStation. I don't believe Xbox owns anything about Deep Rock. It's just on Game Pass. But on PlayStation, it wouldn't be on the PlayStation quote unquote Game Pass. You'd still have to buy Deep Rock Galactic
Yeah.
off of the PlayStation store because they don't own it and they don't want to steal PlayStation's, money they would gain from someone having to buy it because they have a PlayStation 7 Xbox.
Yeah, third-party
Um,
libraries would probably be absent from Game Pass that's on other like first-party properties. I could
yeah,
see that because the only thing that you would be if you had Game Pass on Nintendo, for example, you're playing Halo, Gears, probably Bethesda since that's their company now. So any Bethesda game. But
Doom.
it's not like you're going to get Game Pass on Nintendo and then play Assassin's Creed because Ubisoft would
Exactly.
have something to say about giving their game away to people that they could have made it on that console themselves.
Yeah,
So,
because otherwise they can't eat this month.
yeah,
Um,
so they're, they're just like,
yeah.
no thanks. So it might be
Um,
like called something else, like maybe like, the Xbox library or whatever.
I
insert
still
better
think
name
it'll
than that.
experience.
Yeah, the
yeah,
experience.
Yeah, the experience. There you go.
And they
Make 'em-
skateboard across the stage with
You need to
Doritos.
copy. Go down to the office and copyright that, Edwin, so they have to pay you for royalties when they decide to use that. But at the same time, that's almost covering all their bases, right? So they have people on other consoles have a reason to get Game Pass because like Bethesda library on its own is a big hitter for most people because people love Elder
Hmm.
Scrolls and Fallout, but it's just an added plus for Halo, Gears, Doom, all this other shit that the Sea of Thieves stuff that like that they own, anything that Rare's done. But then they still have a home field advantage where it's like, hey, if you come over to our Xbox side though, you get all that and more. You know, we have all these
Yeah.
other third-party stuff on our Game Pass on our system, you know.
Well, they definitely seem to have like an open relationship with other third parties because they were mentioning that on the Xbox like experience, it was not only Xbox that you could operate within that. It was actually you could bring in third party programs that go inside there like Steam, Epic, and all of that. So that whole feature that I talked about, where it was going to save extra CPU power and juice because of how it was going to simplify things, it was going to also allow you to bring in those additional programs within that sphere and allow you to play these games at a more efficient mode. So if you're worried about, well, I can play my Xbox games at a better rate because it's going to be within that Xbox-like experience, I can't do that for Steam. That's not the case. They're using the Xbox-like experience for anything that it can be fit or programmed in there. And they made it easy to say that yes, Steam, Epic Games, all those things can go in there. They can be downloaded and be played within the Xbox-like experience app. And therefore, you're now going to play your games at a much more better rate, and it's not going to be handled like a Windows PC anymore. It's going to be a lot more efficient, and you should get a lot more better productivity out of those games that you're having, that you've been waiting for so long. So I'm happy about it because, again, we're trying to make these things portable. When I hear that they want to keep things, Windows like, it just seems like you're leaving a lot of stuff on the table, basically, because everything's happening and you're taking away that functionality of being portable. Because if you're going to tell me you're portable but you're connected to an actual outlet the entire time, that doesn't sound like portable to me. It sounds like you are still wired into something and you have to be able to get your juice from somewhere, versus I can literally walk anywhere I need to go. I never need to worry about this having to be connected to something unless it's about to die. Then they make that call. But this should be the next upcoming feature that we're all looking forward to, or at least I'm looking forward to, in portable gaming. This is going to be like the next jump, the next leap that's going to make us actually consider looking at these things as a portable device rather than they're just a PC that you can take on the go for a very limited amount of time, and then of course stay tethered if you yourself want to actually see really good gameplay. So it's going to be definitely going in a right place that I'm looking at, and seeing these others that are basically going to follow the lead. You can definitely see that in the future there's going to be quite a bit of choices to be made on which one to pick versus the good old-fashioned Xbox and PlayStation and Nintendo. There's now going to be more actual people out there contending for the number one spot of being the most portable device, and I think that's kind of cool.
One of the interesting parts is going to be, I think, dictate success rate, I guess, because there isn't necessarily that many allies out there in existence in general. There's a lot, but not like, console level mainstream. It's kind of a newer device, so people are kind of like, what is
Well,
this?
to be honest, I mean, I'm not that plugged into the news, but like I was aware of a Steam Deck's existence, and even then I was kind of like iffy on what exactly it was. And
Yeah.
when Jordan was like, I got a ROG Ally, or when you told me I got a ROG Ally, I'm like, the fuck are you talking about? Like I didn't know that like this whole like niche market of like portable PCs even existed until you guys got your ROG Ally.
Well,
So
What happened to
Corey,
It popped up
laptops?
on a
Yeah.
YouTube channel for me.
Well, Corey saved me because I was actually talking to Corey. I remember I was talking to him about saying, hey, I'm looking at getting the Steam Deck. And then that's when Corey's like, have you seen the ROG Ally? You might want to take a look at that first. And I saw it, saw the numbers. Everything was way much more different in comparison. And I was like, I got to grab it. And I did. And it was always looking at it was kind of hard to watch, just because when you're going on YouTube and they have such a huge fandom on being Steam, right? So they're going to definitely tell you that there's always ways around to make this game work, even though it's kind of shitty. But if you go into all these settings, do all these tweaks, the game will be running okay. And that's usually always what I saw for a Steam Deck. Like every time, it just sounded like you were trying to basically find ways to make the game run better. Even though it's in Steam, the Steam Deck library is not actually all stuck to the Steam Deck. Like they have these ways to determine whether the actual game system can run it by having a green, a yellow, and a red. Red being it's not going to run, green being it's going to run fantastic. And it's not even on all of the games that are in there. So it's still a work in progress for that thing. And didn't hear anything about there presumably being any Steam Deck 2. That's kind of what I was talking about. Maybe Legion might be the new Steam Deck because of what they were showing with a preview of a console that already just came out, I believe, last month. And it's not nearly as powerful as the new one that's coming out this holiday. This presumably might be the joining team that they have with Steam. I don't know. It's just an assumption. And then I did see that there was a leak, whether it's true or not. It could be not, but the Xbox ROG Ally X presumably looks like it's going to get a pre-order in August and a release date in November. So that's what they're possibly might be looking at. Again, I don't know where they got their stuff from.
Coming out in October.
It said October to November in that sense, but it seemed like they were looking more at November though.
Yeah, I think some of the other driving factors that need to be considered as far as like popularity goes is accessibility to the actual device, price point leak for the euros cost, and it's not like if you do conversion to USD, you could see that, but
they were saying $7.99 for this one.
899 euros for the full powered Xbox,
the black one,
and then 699 euros, and you can do the translation to USD, but those prices are subject to change because that's just European pricing. They could be lower, they could be, it could just straight up be $900 USD as well, depending on shipping charges and things like that. But even still, I mean, you're talking about a price point that's over $700. That's not necessarily something people can just randomly drop. And that's kind of how I ended up with the Ally. Like I saw some YouTube videos and stuff on it, and then I was like, oh, I think there's one at Best Buy. I went and when I found it in my hands and I looked at it and I saw there was one left, I just kind of was like, okay, I'll make this random purchase. Let me check my account real quick and see if I can do this. But I don't see a lot of people rushing out to buy a experimental PC device that's $900 that are not at least in the know. This is not something that normies are going to just buy out the gate.
Right.
This is not normie friendly gaming equipment. And the other side of it is, I think emulation is going to play a huge factor in the non-normie consumer base of like, hey, is that going to handle me downloading everything on the internet onto it? Because if I can, like, I don't know if you can do that with a Steam Deck. I'm sure you can. I haven't really engaged in any content about people modding a Steam Deck, but able to do that without you accidentally bricking it for $900. It's kind of like oh fuck, I broke my system.
Yeah,
that's going to be a huge factor for me, at least if I was, well, not the emulation side. The factor for me, if I was going to buy one of these, is going to be, do I want this now? Because all of the games that they were showing at the Xbox showcase don't even come out until next year. So I could just wait until that library builds. And they're all Game Pass games anyway, so they're going to be on this device. But I want to let everybody else burn their SD cards before I purchase one of these things now that they're, I like the experimental technology, but again, I'm not kind of chomping at the bit to get my hands on one of these. I only got the Ally because this was like the first time I saw something like this. It's almost like getting the first video game console, right? You're like, what the hell is this thing? And so now that you have one, you're like, oh, all the other ones are variations of this. I'll wait for a really good one now. And it sounds like the Xbox one might be the really good one, but I want to let other people swipe their cards first before I go and get one and then find out that they're all bricking or some shit.
Exactly.
Especially if the games I want to play aren't even going to be out for like another year. If they have a 2026 holiday release schedule, there's a good chance it got pushed to 27. So
Yeah.
I mean, it's the same thing when PlayStation showcased the other day. They were showing games that I wanted to play, and then they hit me with the 2026. It's like, oh, well, I'll forget about this until they announce it again.
Well, that's the thing I could say is a plus, that at least we know that this is more than just the very first product that Asus has made. This is going to be the third. So they've had some practice, which is nice to be able to know that they've been building this system around actual people wanting what they've been asking for and actually delivering. The only thing that they've been constantly complaining about, which is, why is it that you guys are not giving us the OLED? And this is coming back to the same point. You guys are already having an issue with pricing already on these consoles or these PCs. You really want me to throw another $200 or $300 because of the screen? You think you can afford it? Because if you do, it's going to be in the thousands, and I don't think that that's going to work really well. We're not going to make sales that way. We're trying to make it as affordable as we possibly can with what we're giving you as a product. It's going to be the future.
Yeah.
It's going to be a new processor that no one's seen before, or at least heard of yet. And we built the controller-like feature that you guys asked for. We made it as sleek as possible to hold that 80-watt battery to give you as much battery power as you can. We're creating this Xbox-like experience thing to help save and utilize more power and make games run better. And we're allowing you to use outside third-party members to go ahead and use that same Xbox experience, so everybody gets to get a good go at it. So there's no one saying I didn't get a turn. But the OLED thing, not really a big factor. Nothing really special about it besides, like I said, you get really dark colors. But unless you're playing all these horror games that are consistently in dark environments, you're really not going to see much. It's going to be little hints in there, but it's going to be running at 120 hertz frames. It's going to be doing pretty damn well on what it can offer. But at the same time, it is going to be pricey. And I myself would like to see how people are actually how it's going to perform out there in the public. As much as I would love to be the person that wants to do a pre-order, I don't think I will if it comes about, because again,
They'll probably be available. I'm sure you'll find them on the shelf. I don't think
yeah,
they disappear like a PlayStation or an Xbox, like an actual, like even Xbox fans that like bought 360s and Series X's. I don't see them going out in droves to buy this thing either. I think that it's still going to be misunderstood what it actually is.
Mm-hmm.
Even reading through the articles telling you that this is a handheld Xbox, it's kind of like, but what does that mean?
Yeah.
Does it play something I can't play already? And it's like, well, you can play your Steam library on it. That's
Mhm.
about it. That's the only difference between the Xbox I have now, because they have to, like, they're not going to say that whatever Xbox games that are coming out in the future, like next year, whatever, cannot run on the current Xbox console that sits next to your screen. I think, Edwin, you have the newest Xbox, right?
Yep.
Like, I'm sure that any game that comes out next year, you can also play it. So the selling point is you could play your Steam library on this thing, and you can't put any discs in it of like but I don't know if you do you even buy physical games for Xbox anymore, Edwin?
No, not really. I mean, the last time that we bought it, it was games that were released like a few years ago. Like it
Yeah.
was Rare Replay and Greedfall. Like they were just like for $10, so they were at least like 3 years old.
Yeah, so it's already just almost like a
The
digital device anyways.
the first disc that I put into my Xbox Series X was fucking Gears of War for the 360 last month, and it sounded like it was trying to die. What's funny about that too is that, just a little side tangent about physical media, is that from what I
It's dying.
saw, well, yes, but Xbox is trying to put the shotgun in its mouth as fast as possible, because it with what I heard, Gears of War, the physical release with Xbox is just going to be a case with a code inside of it, but the PlayStation one has a disc, and I'm just like, well, that's ass backwards.
the remaster that's coming out?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
I heard.
Well,
I
at least they said it
can't-
outright.
Well, I can't confirm it, but it's just like, I mean, as the same. I said the same thing when the Switch 2 came out. The Civilization, Split Fiction, and like one other game, those are all just codes in a box, and I'm just like, kill me now. Like, why would I even want that? Why would I waste my time going to the store to get that when I can just download it, because it's just the same thing I'd be doing anyways?
Yeah.
I wonder if people that like read a lot of physical media had the same thought process when like Kindles were becoming popular and like, well, what am I supposed to put on my shelves now?
Well, I mean,
before I forget, this is something weird that I experience.
There we go.
It's like I mean, it's a weird experience, but it's not video game related, but it's similar. From my last birthday, I asked for kitchen appliances, and what I expected to get in the box along with the appliance is the manual. I did not get a manual. I got a QR code sticker that I had to scan and download the manual into my phone, and then I just had to save it so I don't lose it. So it's like
QR
that.
menus are the worst.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. So it's like
Wait.
even for like simplistic things like that, I have to go and download it. I don't get anything physical.
Well, it's like I just thought of it too. Like again, going under the assumption that this is going to be the next Xbox, it doesn't have any kind of input for physical media at all. It's going to be
Right.
all
Yeah.
digital.
Yep.
Like, and it's almost kind of like when new phones come out. When I was hesitant to get a new phone because it's like, well, I use my aux port to hook up to my radio in my truck. And it's like, well, the new phones don't have aux ports. It's like, well, why? It's like, fuck you, that's why. It's like, 'cause we don't
Yeah.
want them anymore. And it's like, cool. So we're finally approaching that point where it's like, fuck you, that's why. We're just no more physical media because we make more profit off of it, and it's just going to be all digital now. And as we already see, we can kind of get it with Nintendo, and as long as it's not a fucking key card, but we're already moving in that direction. So, I mean, and it could just be another reason for them to go with this handheld device because it's like there's just no physical media. They don't have to worry about that anymore. It's just all going to be digital.
I mean, I feel like we're gonna get into the same situation that we did before when every phone had a different charging cable that where the government stepped in and said, we're wasting a lot of plastic, and so everyone has to choose between like one of three different charging cables to use. And then now where everyone is just
And now
using a Type
USB-C is
C.
in Apple products, bitch.
Yeah, so now so now it was like I feel like we're gonna get into that same situation where it's just like no more physical media if you're just gonna put a digital code into it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
stop making cases for shit. I mean, GameStop's just gonna, what are you gonna do? Walk in there, and it's just a kiosk for you to buy something. It's just you could basically just turn GameStop into an app, which it is an app, but like I'll just use whatever storefront, like PlayStation, Nintendo, whatever. Granted,
I mean, you can still buy digital games off of GameStop, which the only reason you do that is if you have the Pro membership just to get points instead of just
yeah.
buying it directly from whatever storefront on your console you have. You know,
Here's something that's kind of funny. I went to GameStop literally 2 days ago, and I bought a Super Nintendo game from them because they carry retro media now. And the only reason why I bought a Super Nintendo game from them, one, I was there for Final Fantasy Magic cards, but they had Breath of Fire 2 on Super Nintendo in a glass case, and I hadn't seen that game in person forever. Like I've been looking for it, and I know I can order it from online, but I like the
That
the
sounds
hunt.
fun.
Like
Yeah.
I like going finding them out in the wild, basically. And I was just like, holy shit! So my most recent GameStop purchase was a Super Nintendo game.
Yeah, it's kind of wild. Well, it's funny because they had retro media for a while, then took it away. Now it feels like they're going back to it now that they realize the retro market. There's
But
there's
yeah,
profit to be made in that, but
Well,
that's still
they're
the
still weird about it because like I've looked a few times for Pokemon games and they won't ship Pokemon games unless you're close to the store that has it for some reason, and I don't
they do
understand
have
why that
Pokemon
is.
Yellow at GameStop. One
No,
that
it was like Pokemon Black and White. It was like it before it even told me it was like, hey, can these be shipped to me? They asked, what's your zip code? And it's like, sorry, we don't deliver there. It's like it's in the fucking U.S. What is wrong with you? Do I have to be close enough to
use the
the
mail.
GameStop, or is it like too expensive that I can't have it shipped? I have to go to the store.
Yeah.
It wouldn't even tell me which store had it. It just said, I was like, sorry, we can't ship there. It was like, but it wouldn't give me a reason why. I
It
don't
did say you had
understand
to
it.
walk it here and hand it to me.
No, it's a weird experience with them.
I mean, it's I think like unless I see a Switch game, I mean, thank God the cases tell you whether or not it's a fucking code or not.
Yeah.
But if I from now because I bought the Bravely Default because I mean it said we were told how it was going to work, but I needed to see it in person. But yes, the Kane key cards are kind of meh. It's like They are useful, I guess, but it's just not the same. I'd rather just save myself the trip and buy it digitally at the end of the day. And so I'm probably going to keep buying new games as long as it really is on physical media, with as long as PlayStation is going to keep it up and as long as it's not a key card, but like physical media is going out the window and it feels bad.
It's interesting though because when you look at, not to take this away from the handheld stuff, but like when you
Yeah,
walk
I'm
into a
sorry, I didn't mean
retro
to just
game
go on so
store,
long.
there's like a wall of content that people haven't even been able to engage with yet. Like I don't have every single PlayStation 3 game that's ever existed. I know that not every PS3 game is the most amazing game, but there's plenty of games out there that, I wouldn't have given a chance because they were full price games, but you might find them now for like $10 or something and be like, wow, this is actually not a bad $10 experience. It's kind of fun. And if
Well,
people
also
are subjected
reproductions,
to, huh?
also reproductions of like
Yeah,
the official game and for emulated ROM hacks.
I mean, maybe the repos kind of upset me if they're like if people don't keep them separate from the other ones because I don't want to accidentally buy like an expensive repo because that would really piss me
Mm,
off. But like the point is like if people are skeptical on digital media because they're like, oh, I don't want to buy digital. It's like, what if the power goes out or internet or some bullshit and I can't play that game this weekend because this you know PlayStation got hacked again over Christmas break, so they're down for 3 days or some shit. I could just pop a Super Nintendo game in and play it, and there's plenty of games that are totally worth it. I mean, there's two more games at that GameStop, and I had to stop myself, but they had Secret of Mana on Super Nintendo, and they had Illusions of Gaia, or not Illusions of Gaia, Secret of Evermore. And I was like, damn, I can't buy all of these because, well, I need to get to my next payday and all that other shit. But if they're
I need
probably
to
still
eat.
going to be there, and those are two other games I really wanted, and I know they're really good. So, digital media might push a lot more people to seek other things because it becomes like it's like, oh, it's so old, it's cool now to kind of do something like that where people are just doing like retro activities. And so they might just, you know, whether it's reading like old comic books or playing old games or watching classic movies, I
the
mean,
COVID
I've seen it
experience
all,
again.
VHS to DVD to Blu-ray to Netflix. I've seen that whole library. Jordan's dad had like every VHS tape ever made, and then they made DVDs, and I'm sure he shit his pants. And then he bought every DVD ever made, and then they made Blu-ray. He's like, son of a bitch.
I was like walking to Blockbuster. I was like, what the hell is all these DVDs,
Yeah,
dude?
it's like, yeah, you must really like movies. But I mean, I don't think I've ever met anybody that's watched a movie in its entirety because Jordan's dad would watch DVDs and all the commentary and every special feature thing ever, and then put the next one in. So it's kind of neat, but just kind of retro gaming and stuff kind of coming out of talking about the most recent PC playing is kind of we're at this weird turning point of seeing experimental technology again, and it's getting everybody to think about where we came from and what's coming down the road. So it's kind of exciting, instead of being in this stagnant like this is nice, this is normal 10 years of the same shit. We're about to see like everything flip on its head, and good or bad, it kind of gets you a little bit more paying attention to your hobby and like how to keep engaging with your hobby if it's going to change completely. I'm sure many people thought about that with photography and camera phones now.
I
It's just
mean,
a
oh,
no, go
sorry,
for it.
I do have a question about um like as you say, we're going into like the experimental technology, and then everyone is like hammering down on the portable PCs. Since it is a portable PC, it has like a lot more features and capabilities around it. You said that the pre-orders are coming out in August, and then they're aiming for an October and November release, but you're not going to get it day one.
No,
So it's like so you're getting it after it releases,
correct.
but you don't know when.
Right.
So if it is a much more complex and experimental device with the battery, and then trying to make it cheap enough for the market while also making it strong to like compete with the other types of it, do you think that it will still follow or fluctuate the development time that is that has been the 7-year generation gap between consoles?
Are you
I
talking like PC related stuff or just overall like 7-year lifespan of an entertainment device?
The lifespan of, for specifically the portable PCs, do you think
Uh-huh.
that they would have the same generation gap of 7 years between each one.
I doubt
Because
it.
if you're not getting it day one, and then there's still a bunch of problems with it, like the low battery,
Well,
then
I don't think
when
so.
would you get it, or would you wait for the next one?
No, like I said, like this is the third one they came out with, and there's no way we'd say 7 years because these things have came out dramatically faster because they still put themselves on the block as a regular PC. Every year, a new chip gets made, a new graphics card gets made. They're constantly coming with new designs to make these things happen. And Asus ROG is not switching itself to say I am a console and therefore I'm going to keep this here for years and for 7 years until we come up with a new one. They're pretty much probably going to come up with a new one afterwards. But for me specifically, again, I was waiting for a while since the very first ROG Ally. I have not gotten the ROG Ally X. I'm waiting to see what this new one can feature, and I want to see what other people are going to say about it. Basically, going through what other people's experiences are on it and seeing if this really is what I've been looking for. Because yes, there is a lot of hype out there in the media to where they make things sound like this is the future, and we find out it sucks. We don't know.
Yeah.
It's a speculation of things that people are saying it's going to happen. But again, no one knows what this chip can do. No one knows what this interface can do. Everybody's been on hush hush and kept everything secret. Anybody that's played the
Everything is theoretical right now, and when we see it in practice, it'll be like, oh, okay.
Yeah, because all of these YouTubers that have gone out there and tested the product was only given 10 minutes to play with it. They could not go outside of Gears. They got them to play the remake of Gears and didn't really get to let them do much with it. They basically were constantly over they were over your shoulder watching what you were doing to make sure you didn't do anything outside of playing the game. That's it. So that when we talked about this, but they were talking about this before, they're still in development of it. That's what kind of makes me kind of worried, because you're now talking about that this isn't done yet. So you're now rushing to get this product done. I'm kind of worried to note that this might be one of those where they built it, they push it out, and it ends up being kind of a flop. And they're like, okay, we need to work on this a little more. And then a couple months down the line, then they push out a new build where it's like, okay, we don't have any of those issues now, or we have now came out with the right update to make this work the way it's supposed to. That's the only reason.
Better heat sink.
Yeah. There's
thing for performance increasing.
Yeah. So as much as I would really hate to find this becoming a flop, I'm still being very careful because, again, how much money you're going to be spending on this thing. You do not want to make the wrong choice twice. So,
well, I don't think it's going to make as much of a splash as if they had, like, let's just replace it with like they just said, it's the next Xbox. I feel like it's going to come out and people are definitely going to be buying it and talking about it, but it's definitely not going to like fly off the shelves sort of thing. Like, I still don't think people are going to treat it as like a new console release in and of itself. So
yeah.
And when I'm looking at the ROG Ally X right now on Best Buy, I mean, that's $900. So I'm assuming the only way to keep price down is Microsoft is going to eat some kind of loss to help fund the push of the console to have, or the handheld device to have it kind of circulating at a more affordable base, and hope for volume over low volume with high price is low price with high volume kind of thing. But we'll see. I mean, I don't see it moving like a console. And when you're talking about 7-year lifespans for PC stuff, I'm with Jordan. There's so many updates every fucking year, and we see them at CES all the time. So this is just going to be the first version. They'll have a 2.0 the year after that.
Yep.
And it's the only reason why PlayStation and Nintendo and Xbox and Sega had ever done like, a 5-6 year life cycle was because everything's integrated and there's no upgrades. Once it's out, and then they work on, they're probably working on the next Nintendo Switch right now, and they're going to figure out what it's going to be, because they can't sell me a Switch every single year, even though they try to do that. And some people buy them with all the different skins, like the Pokemon one and the Fire Emblem one and the Mario one, or they did it with DSs and stuff. But the Ally, you're going to see like a better version of it. Like maybe it has a hard drive brand in it that runs better than the brand that they initially launched with, or there's a better heat sink or a better thermal paste or something, or some stupid small thing, and then you're like, well, that one's the better one, even though you on the outside, if you put it side by side, you would never be able to tell the difference. But internal specs, but people aren't really going to look at those. Like normies aren't going to look at that shit. Like they don't care.
Yeah.
People
Well,
are gonna. That thing has to be wrapped in a box that straight up just says Xbox on it, like it's an actual fucking Xbox. Because if it's confusing in any way in the packaging for somebody who plays like, oh, I'm a Call of Duty gamer and that's all I do and I like Xbox. If they walk by that thing on the shelf and it doesn't say Xbox, pick me up, they're just gonna be like, "Do you guys got any Xboxes here?" No, okay, and keep it pushing.
Yeah.
Well, it was that was like my thought process is that because it's like almost $1,000 compared to a console that is made, and then they have to try and sell you another one, but it's like literally half the price of that portable device, and its singular use is to play the video games because it's not a portable computer, but also it doesn't like get upgrades that you can just buy and put it in like a regular computer.
Yeah, like graphics cards, RAM, and stuff. You can't like what you get is what you get.
Yeah.
It's like you get what you get, but it's also like twice the price of a console, and the things for it that can't be replaced are upgraded every single year. So what is like the justification to choose what time you would actually like make another one, and then also expect your customers to drop another grand on a new one?
Yeah.
Because I don't think it would be the same as every other one. It would be 7 years because I still see people like using old phones from like 10 years ago or 20. It's like, goddamn.
I think the price by itself is why I think like this might just be the new Xbox, because like I can't imagine Microsoft is just like, yeah, we expect people to buy this and an Xbox to go with it. It's like, fuck are you on about?
I think go ahead.
Oh, go for it.
I was just going to say, well, that's why I think that the collaboration was so important. I think that's kind of where Asus was just kind of wondering what the hell can we do differently to make ourselves not look like the last two that we produced. We've got to keep raking in the dough, and we are not getting it close enough to where we need to be to get profitable. And this is where we need to find out the open source of people that have experience with console gaming and figure out how can we make this thing more enjoyable for people. Because again, a lot of people get this thing mixed up, and I know I did before, which was I need the most powerful computer out there in the palm of my hands. The problem then that comes by is how comfortable can it be in your hands? Because if anybody knows what a ROG Ally feels like, it's not that comfortable. It's a little rough. It's hard to do with. And now you're talking about I need to hold this in my hand as long until the battery dies. It's not comfortable. There's no ergonomics in it. It's really rough. Well, this one here, they put it around to feel like an actual controller. And when I was seeing a lot of people touching it, I know that there's some publicity and getting sales and everything that you make us look good will pay you good. The controls and how they look and feel, just by me seeing it, it looked amazing. And that's what I knew was missing in a lot of these consoles, was the comfortable control feel like in the palms of when you're playing something. I don't want to hold a screen. I want to hold a controller. That's why a lot of people go to the consoles, because they like the feel of a controller. And this gives you that ability. It does not look pretty. I will be honest. The thing looks a little ugly, but the controllers with the haptic feedback triggers, I know some of us don't enjoy them. I love that shit. It feels great. It's got the rumble features built into the controllers. It's going to have it just like the controller does. It's rounded out, built in silicone, so it's like more matched to feel like the actual controller does. And the layout and the features, the buttons have been more clickety, so they're not like round and hard to push down. They're more like a controller. And this is kind of where they went out and they're like, we need to get somebody with the ideal understanding of how this works. Xbox, I need your help. All right. And then this is how they can not only push out a better product because they got somebody out there with experience, but again, you're now working with a very expensive like company that can help make this possibly more affordable than those other companies like MSI and everything, where they don't have any other people that are teaming up with them. They just are by themselves, and therefore they have to make the product more expensive in order to make do with the money that they're going to get. So this could definitely be a better way to make things not too expensive. But again, we don't really know until a thing is released. That's when we'll find out how expensive it is. But I've been looking forward to this for a very long time, and it does seem like they finally answered what I've been looking for in a portable game-like feature for a PC. So that's kind of where I'm looking for to try and grab me one of those. And yes, it's updatable. You can make things changes and stuff like that, but the controller like feature that they're having, I can't do that with this controller, with this Asus that I have right now. Mine's too outdated. It doesn't have that ability. I could get those third party like control things that you can add to the side of them that click on, but it's not the same. It's shit. And this is going to give you that without all that crap on the side.
For me, I think I'm going to give it I want to give it a 2-year life cycle. The only reason why I'm going to estimate a 2-year life cycle is because the only way that they could ever justify this thing having a long-term life cycle, even though all pieces are integrated. Granted, the processor is whatever this fancy new processor is, but that doesn't really mean a lot when we're talking about how everything is constantly updating all the time. Technology multiplies itself by tenfold every year, so it's kind of impossible for them to say that this thing is going to be awesome. Like, it is going to be awesome until it's not awesome. And when PlayStation 6 is announced for like 2027, Xbox is going to have to do something. And when graphics and stuff are all updated again for the next generation of like graphics cards, where you got the 50 to 60 series, probably 70 series maybe by that time, PlayStation 6, this handheld thing, Xbox is going to have to make games that are competing against these newer consoles, and that thing won't even be able to run it. Granted, game engines and stuff are going to be more optimized too. Like Unreal is working on nanite technology for better optimization of high poly models, better use of cards now that they're without using alpha cards for their foliage nanite stuff, which is really neat, and then Niagara and everything like that. But that's Unreal. There's going to be a lot of optimization on other engines too to make things look really good and run optimal without eating a lot of data. But we're going to see a huge jump here shortly, and then games are going to utilize that technology, and this thing won't be able to handle games that are going to come out brand fucking new in 3 years. So there's no way this is going to be something that's just going to be like, here you guys go for the next 7 years, because that's just writing them a check that's going to get outdated very quickly.
Right. And I
think it's fun to talk about. Oh, sorry, cut.
I was just gonna say, I didn't want to come off too as saying like, we did state about the MSI claw and all those other things that were there. It's just the basic same thing. They're just more bulkier, they're more beefier in the process and what they're going to be doing. But again, I was not looking for those because I'm looking for something that's going to last long and is going to equal with gameplay. None of them have that feature that is going to be advertised like they're doing with the Xbox ROG Ally X. It's going to hopefully revolutionize how we see PCs compared to consoles. It's going to make them more of a hybrid, and I thought that would be a good topic for us to talk about.
I just think it's fun to talk about simply because like this does seem to, again, this is most of what we're saying today is being based on speculation, but it just seems like this is like a big turning point in the game industry, not only for how consoles are going to be treated in the future or how they possibly might treated, the pricing increases of everything, the physical media being fucking phased out, basically. Like the next generation, once everything is said and done, is going to look much different for console gaming than it has been the last like probably since last like 3 or 4 generations. Probably hasn't changed as much since like probably from SNES to GameCube era sort of thing. So from the last big jump from like maybe not as big, but pixelation to 3D models and shit like that. But we're not gonna have some kind of leap like that. It's mostly like talking about like the medium of what we're doing, not
how
like
we consume our hobby versus
it's a lot of talk about the hardware, right? Not even the software. And again, we didn't talk about it much, but the game prices, that's a whole different conversation. But because Xbox also is now like, hey, you want High on Life too? $80. I'm like, no one in their right mind is going to pay $80 for that crap.
Outer Worlds too, I think.
Yeah, so I'm just like, that's a different thing entirely. I'm not going to open up that can of worms tonight, but
Don't worry,
it's just fun.
On Game Pass.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but that's the point, right? It's like $80 or
$100 games or Game Pass, $200 games or Game Pass. How do you force everybody into Game Pass? You say the singular device is way too expensive, so you should just subscribe.
Yeah, exactly. So that's the other thing. We're moving into like this weird subscription-based thing. If Game Pass is so freaking popular, and PlayStation does have an equivalent, but we never hear about it ever. Like I was kind of shocked when I went to go get PS Plus. I'm like, oh, the PlayStation catalog is a thing. I didn't even know that.
That's called my bookshelf.
Yes. Pretty much, right? And even though it's funny, it's like I get more use out of the Nintendo like classics library than I do of Game Pass nowadays. But again, different conversation for a different day.
Yeah.
But I am curious where it's going, but so far to me, it looks like I am going to be sitting with my Switch 2 and just watching the world burn outside of whatever's going to happen.
I mean, I do hope the ROG Ally X does work out for people.
Yeah, I'm not
because it is
saying
a
I'm not
neat
saying it
idea.
hoping it fails because I just like for me, it's not something for me. I have a gaming PC and like Xbox does not have the pull for me like it used to. The only thing that the only reason I even have an Xbox right now is because my other friends play it, and the only thing we fucking play on it is Space Marine 2, and I could have bought that on PlayStation. Like it's just my fucking Warhammer machine at this point, and I could have bought those games anywhere else. Like there's no reason for me to get on an Xbox. It was just happened to be on sale, and my friends happened to play Space Marine 2 on Xbox, so that's just what it was.
I wanted Scalebound, and then they canceled it. So I was like, well, I'm not getting an Xbox, I guess.
Yeah, like unless Halo gets a turnaround, there's nothing in Xbox's library because I don't really, I'm not super down bad for anything Bethesda does anymore. So I'm just like, that's neat, shrug, Oblivion's cool, shrug. I don't really care. So it's not gonna
Elder
make me
Scrolls
subscribe.
6 announced tomorrow.
I would just be like, yeah, cool, shrug. Bethesda, you have to do something different to impress me. I'm sorry. Like I'm not gonna come back for that. So it's all speculation, but it's still fun to talk about.
Yeah, the
I
lightning
am.
storm outside of my house is telling me so.
All right. All right. Well, I guess we'll be wrapping it up today. Don't forget to follow us on Spotify, Twitter, YouTube, and our Rumble channel so you never miss an episode. And to all you gamers out there, just remember to keep exploring, keep playing, keep listening. Until next time, this is the Mediocre Rumble Brothers podcast signing off. Thanks for listening.
Maybe they'll remaster Brute Force.
Xbox experience.
I just like my Switch.
Hey, this is Corey, and thanks for checking out Mediocre Rumble Brothers. If you liked the video, please drop a like, and if you didn't, that's fine too. If you'd like us to talk about any specific games, drop a comment below, or feel free to discuss your experience with the games that we've mentioned in the episode. You can also listen to our episodes prior to YouTube on our Spotify. Thanks for watching, and hope to see you again soon.